Today's winners have bright futures ahead of them. They're creative and analytical people that can make magic happen with the simplest tricks and turn seemingly mundane objects into works of art. The master of that task, mundane objects into works of art, is the prop master. They give us the tools of the world we live in and inform how we engage with it, and usually do this with about half the budget and none of the time. That ingenuity and creativity should be an inspiration to all of us. And our next speaker is among that rare group of people that have a recipe book for blood and vomit, as well as knowing every way to make a torch, fake freshly cooked dinners, and paper props galore. Please welcome our speaker this morning, the prop master, Jay Duckworth. Thank you.
Students, academics, working professional, and mentors, I'd like to wish you all an exceptionally good morning. My name is Jay Duckworth, and I am a props master. I was born in St. Joseph Hospital in the old French section of St. Charles, just 21 miles away. And my beginnings in theater are no less than 73 miles away, north of this spot where I'm standing. And it was and still is literally an old apple shed near a railroad track. And when the trains went by, we were told to freeze in place. And then when the train began, we were to begin again. Very high art. This is my 31st year as a working professional, and this October is a milestone birthday for me, as I'll be turning 50 years old. So that means 1/3 of my career, the decade of my 40s, I've been lucky enough to work at the Public Theater in New York City. I have over 55 Broadway and off-Broadway plays, musicals under my thumb, have my thumbprint on them. They've all won Pulitzers, Drama Desk, Outer Critics Circles, Obies, Tony Awards, but don't think I do that work alone. My partner, Sarah Swanberg in our shop, and Rebecca David, who run the shop, and Sydney Schatz, a loud Texas Renaissance woman, are honestly the best in the business. They're pulling double duty right now, so I can be with you. Just as an example, if you walk through the Public today, you would see St. Joan Into the Fire, a new musical written by David Byrne of the Talking Heads and previews. Opening tonight is Outer Space, another new musical. Upstairs is John Leguizamo's Latin History for Morons in its second week of previews. And in next door is prep for the PBS filming of Richard Nelson's The Gabriels, on break from its international tour. On the 3rd floor, gently down the stream, a play featuring Harvey Fierstein will start Tech tonight. And we're also in rehearsals for 12th night for our mobile Shakespeare unit. Let me be crystal clear. Without my team, I am nothing. I'm the founder of the Props Summit, which is also an annual meeting of props people of all different stations, from Broadway, Lincoln Center, to first-year students at Emerson, NYU, Rutgers, and Yale. People come to New York at the top of the autumn season from all over the East Coast for the summit, some as far away as Colorado. And each year we feature a different aspect of props. Casey Hulgren Kim, the leading 3D printer programmer for 3D printers, came and showed how we could integrate them into our work. Every year, Roscoe shares tons of their materials for us to try out and use. Smooth On and Reynolds Advanced Materials made an evening of demonstrations of casting and mold making for us. The Specialist, the company that supplies the film and television industry with all their weapons and special effects, came out one year to show us sword recognition, history, and weapons guide of how to control a hot gun on and off stage. One year we focused on Greener Theater, and Harriet Taub, of the head of Materials for the Arts, presented with the amazing Tony-winning award designer Danielle Worley. She spoke on behalf of the Green Alliance, the Broadway Green Alliance, and Danielle is with us this week. Please seek her out. as she's an artist of singularity and has the respect of the entire theater community. Along with my duties as head of the props in the theater that produces nearly 45 events a season and 3 productions of Shakespeare in the Park, I'm working with one of the great minds down at the University of Virginia on harmonic color theory. Right now, we're testing numbers on the middle ground and primary or secondary of colors without variances in hues because the math would just be too daunting. Most of us understand that 2 notes who have sympathetic vibrations and are in whole number ratios create a harmonious tone called consonance. And when 2 notes that are not sympathetic vibrations called dissonance. These 2 different sounds are easily recognizable and can be identified by their frequency. The theory is that color can be broken down in a mathematical formula to help provide a guideline of why colors match and are aesthetically pleasing. Instead of sound frequencies, it's measured in wavelengths of reflected and absorbed light. It's in its infancy, but we hope that one day you'll able to look at a room and understand scientifically why it's pleasing not only to your eye, but it's pleasing objectively. And kind of like why the color yellow looks good, yellow and blue looks good together, and why you should never wear open-toed coral pumps with a lilac pantsuit. I mean, my God, Queen, you look like a Soviet caricature of a 1990s hooker. So given the unique opportunity to speak to the next generation of artists is an incredibly daunting task. And if you don't like my speech, please blame Dave Grindle. Simply send him an email to slickdavyg@Friendster. Friendster? slickdavyg@friendster.com. And if you did enjoy, please give Jane Childs from Stagecraft Institute of Las Vegas a big hug from me. She, Ray, Raphael, and Ron are the reason that I'm here. As a prop master, I deal in physical items, things that add depth, color, history, and emotionally draw you into the environment. I've been amazingly lucky. I'm sorry, I'm just a little bit nervous. This really is daunting. I've been amazingly lucky to have worked with some of the greatest artists in our business. Arthur Lawrence, Julie Taymor, Anne Hathaway, Kevin Kline, Susan Laurie Parks, John Lee Beatty, Al Pacino, the very overrated Meryl Streep, Theone Aldridge, her husband Tom Aldridge, the amazingly cute Jonathan Groff, John Lithgow, Kate Worski, Tony Kushner, Tommy Kail, and that young upstart, Lin-Manuel Miranda, and I propped his show Hamilton. I stole every day I could, and watching these people, and each one of them brought something different to the table. And we need to keep in mind each artist was mentored by another. And that connection is called the golden thread. It is the kinship in each one of us that goes from our mentor connected back to the traditions and our heritage into our ancient past. It can be traced back all the way to the storytellers sitting around fires, teaching stories of great heroes and heroines, of past glories, of immortal stars, of heroines and heroines who are put in the stars. That thread is being woven in this room right now. I decided what I should share with you is what I wish someone would have told me when I was younger. These are the tools that I've been given, or I bought with sweat and scars, or I just out and out stole. I'm going to present to you the artist bug-out bag. The first item is a map. Now, unfortunately, the map you'll be given is only filled out at the fringes. We've done our best to fill it out, but we can only show you as far as we've gone. You can use it to go where you wish to, and if you want to grow, you have to go out into the uncharted territory, especially if you want to be an innovator. Think about it. Ships are great and safe in port, but that's not what they're made for. Ships' jobs are to be out on the open sea. And I hear all the time from young artists, this is so difficult, this is really tough. Well, fuck yeah, it's tough. It is tough because you are creating the art of the future. Let that sink in for a second. You are taking everything of art you've seen, every observance and every experience you've ever had, and you're filtering it down, refining it to represent your personal vision. You're distilling your vision down and expressing it in lines on a page. This is just the green belt, my friends. Your skills are going to be tested more and more, and you don't want it to become easier. You want it to become harder. You want to work better, and you want to work faster. What seems hard now in a few years is just going to be a warm-up. It's difficult to go bravely into the unknown, whether it's out there or deep into the unexplored territory of yourself. The only time you can be honest, the only time you honestly can be brave is when you are afraid. Have courage to break through that imaginary tissue of fear. Trust me, no matter how impenetrable it looks, it is false. The map is for your country to discover. And once you've carved out a territory, plant your marker and let other people come and carve out your map and copy it. I know it sounds counterintuitive to give away what you worked so hard for, but believe me, you never really own anything until you are able to give it away freely. Until that time, it owns you. The next thing you'll find in your pack, something we all had as kids, it's a compass. Keeping your journey on track is important for logging where you've been and where you're going. The compass that I'm going to charge you with is more of a moral one. List everything that you would do for that huge amount of cash you would be given, and then list everything you would not do no matter how much someone offers you. Give 2 or 3 points why you would or would not do these things, and it needs to be a physical list. It needs to be a list that you can go back to and refer to throughout the year. When you write things down, you take them from abstract thought to physical shape and form and make them tangible and real. The next year, New Year's Eve, go back and revise that list. See if your rules have changed. See if these rules still serve who you are. And if they've not, you change them. These, my friends, are your values. Having your values well-defined and set changes you. You will never be caught in a situation where you stop in disbelief and say, how the hell did I get here? Or what am I doing? These are not the temple's values or the mosques or the churches. These are yours. Know them and keep them tight and safe with you. On the side of your bag is an axe. It is not a refining tool. It's helped to carve your way and clear your way. Tons of people, including myself to some degree, are future addicts. A future addict is a person who does not believe in the moment that they are in, but the mirage of a magical someday. When I get my first play, ... or when I have $1 million, I'll sure, Broadway's gonna open its doors for me. I just gotta get out of this town. 2 things, my friend. No one ever promised you a tomorrow, and one day I guarantee that you will not have one. The second thing is the only truth you'll find meditating on top of a mountain is the truth you take up there with you. If you're not okay with who you are and what you are at this moment in time, no money, no thing, no body in the future is going to make you okay with who you are. Take an inventory of yourself, look at your assets, look at your strengths, and work on your shortcomings. There will never be a right place at a right time if you do not have the right skills. Remember what was carved deep into the stone at the Temple of Delphi, know thyself. If you're going to notice there are people out there who piss you off no matter what you do, you'll run into them over and over, and they won't be the same person. They'll be the same habits imprisoned in somebody else's body. Yet the same damn things will annoy you about them. And I'll tell you a secret right now, it's not them. No one can piss you off without your authority. No one has the power unless you allow them to. These people are brought into our lives to teach you a lesson about yourself. What does this person agitate you? Why is it really, do they make you mad? And you have to ask your question, why, over and over until you get to the root of the problem. At that point, you'll be able to deal with whoever and whatever the problem is. And when you're able to recast that person from a protagonist to a plunky comic relief, instead of being mad, they become a curious amusement to you. And I'm sure some of you are sitting around waiting for that big break, and if it hasn't come, don't be surprised. Don't ever let yourself be upset by the results you didn't get with all the hard work you didn't do. Did you hear that right? Okay. You've got to get out there in the hustle. When you chop your own wood, it warms you twice. Now, everybody knows there's a triangle, and each one of these points has three different choices. One is people, one is project, and one is pay. You can do a great project with people you love for little or no pay, and if the project is crap and the people are okay, the pay has to be good. I say go for it. But when the people and pay are good, the most heartbreaking thing is when the project is less than glorious. So we all need to go out and make our own opportunities. And when opportunity isn't knocking on your door, you take that axe and you bust down a wall and you make a door. You make your own entry. You must make your own luck. You say, but what if I fall? I say, but what if you fly? Lastly, the axe is for pruning as well. I learned this in the apple orchard next to the apple shed where I did my first plays. In order for a tree to grow, it must produce fruit off healthy branches. And the branches that are no longer producing great fruit have to be removed. Know that this dead wood will take away the tree's vital energy. The best solution is for the limbs that do not bear fruit to be cut away. If the tree holds on to this dead wood, it'll eventually permanently damage the tree. Understood? Do not feel any guilt about cutting away anything that prevents healthy growth on fruit on this tree. No matter how painful you think it'll be for the tree, in the long run, it'll be much better without them. Now, folded in front of your pocket is a star chart, and you'll always be wanting to be on course when the sun's not there, because this will show you the east and west. The constellations it'll reference are the points that you'll all be able to know you're going the right direction. I imagine we can name a few constellations, but not all of them, unless your livelihood depends on them. So the star chart comes in the form of a moleskin notebook, and it's a way you can recognize the players in the game and know what their stats are. This way, when you have an opportunity to meet the constellation that make up our universe, you can make quality time with them. When my interns start on the first day, they get a moleskin notebook, and they have to write down people's names that they hear at work. And then later, they have to go to the internet, look up who they are, Google a picture, and Google their stats, and put it into with their bio, their history, and their awards. Here's why. The year we were doing Into the Woods in Central Park was the same year of the pre-production of the film Into the Woods, and Mr. Sondheim and Mr. Lapine were at the park almost every day. One day I saw my intern Kevin was giving coffee under the stage, and he was chatting with this bearded gentleman. I watched him nod his head and walk up to me. So, I grabbed him. Pretty cool, right? He said, what? I said, do you know who you were just talking to? And he said, no, not really, but he seems like a real nice guy. I explained to him that he was chatting with Stephen Sondheim. His eyes closed, his head hung, and from that moment on, every one of my interns had a book with them at all times. Lastly, down at the bottom, under some crackers, a bandana, and a Cliff Bar is your logbook. You'll always need to keep in mind where you've been and focus on where you're going. And you need a plan and how you're going to get there. And the logbook also helps you keep a list of your assets. Keep notes of who you have met, and follow up with interviews with handwritten thank you cards. Also, a handwritten card is as vital as having a business card, and the only time you should write your name and phone number on a slip of paper and give it to someone is in a poorly lit bar at 1 a.m. On your journey, well, that's true. On your journey, you may run into some people. You may run into a problem that I call the Columbus phenomenon. It happens to a lot of us, and it's not a bad thing. The Columbus phenomenon happens when you're en route to get from point A to point B, but fate has another plan for you. Columbus went from the east to the west to find a new spice route to India, and when he landed, he pulled a Sean Spicer and said, okay, no matter what, if anybody asks, we are in India. This is definitely India. And the crew who had been to India before were like, I don't really think so, because these guys have barbecue and hammocks. Life is going to give you a lot of opportunities, some great and some not so great. You may start as in lighting, and you might wind up as an actor. You might be an actor and fall in love with props design. You may move to a new city, or love may move you to an entirely new field altogether. Just let yourself be open to learning, and let the great sorting hat of destiny place you in this world where you are needed and where you're most happy. Always be ruled by the dictates of your conscience and never chance the consequence. So that's it. That's the bug out bag. There's enough room in there for more stuff. But the things I gave you are just to get you started. You'll find tools out there, you'll make your own, and you may even throw away some of mine. There is just one last thing, and it's the most important. There'll be people who are jealous of you, jealous of what you can do, people who fear what's different. And it's strange to people that we are so universally adaptive and welcoming to the outsider because we were the outsider ourselves. But when you do find yourself desperate and down at rock bottom, remember that solid bedrock is the best place to build your new foundation. Take a deep breath. Remember that golden thread that binds you to this community. And know you're an artist. And no matter how hard, you can always rewrite how your story ends. I'm Jay Duckworth.